All right. Wait a couple seconds, let some people get on. Welcome. Now let's start. How about that? Welcome to the What's Your Superpower webinar. I'm really glad that you've joined me today. Now, if you are not familiar, just want to make sure that you may want to take our Superpower and Kryptonite quiz, and I invite you to do so. Now, you can scan this QR code that's right there on your screen, or you can also go to quiz.influentialyou.biz, and you'll be able to take this as well. So go ahead and grab that camera. You can go ahead and take a picture of that on your screen, or you can go to quiz.influentialyou.biz. Now, another document that may be valuable today can be found at my.influentialyou.global/personality characteristics. I'll say it once again. It will be in the show notes, but it's my.influentialyou.global/personality characteristics. And that should be able to download right now if you'd like. But if you just take this quiz right now, you'll already be caught up and you'll be good to go. Now, while you're getting ready for that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Josh D'Amigo, and I am the host of the Influential You podcast, and I serve as an advisor, and I'm a faculty member here at Influential You. Now, I've been recognized as Young Professional of the Year by the Ventura Chamber of Commerce and was featured on the 40 Under 40 list by the Greater Conejo Chamber of Commerce, and I'm committed to community development. I hold a master's degree in organizational management and have worked and studied here at Influential You for a little over 5 years. We'll start with a brief explanation of who we are and what it is exactly that we do here at Influential You. Since 2009, we have helped thousands of business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs become more influential, more rewarded, and more you. At Influential You, we teach a 4-year curriculum and have a variety of study programs, mastermind groups, and different coaching offerings. Our programs are rigorous, many are application only, and we have clients that come to us from all around the world. In fact, Influential You has participants that are all across the world, with a majority of our clients in major cities in North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And you'll all probably agree with me that in order to achieve our biggest aims in life, it's going to take help, valuable help. And at Influential You, we collect ambitious clients all across the world that study together in our various programs. Now, you're also in really good company. You can probably see right here on this slide that we've worked with many different well-known companies. So you're in good hands. And this is a sample of some of the smartest people that I know. These are our program faculty members, with Marnie Power out of Charlottesville, Virginia, John Bajent in New Zealand, Gary Ward in Australia. You can see myself there. I could probably get a better picture. Here in California, Tim Nicholas is in Denver, Colorado. Laurel McClay is in New Zealand. And finally, M. Ramona Bryson is in Atlanta, Georgia. Each of our program faculty have completed our 4-year curriculum, and they take on a very rigorous certification in order to lead programs here at Influential You. Now, here's a bit about our customers. Some of the demographics of the people that we work with. As you can see, we've got 42% employed, and we've got 58% self-employed, men, women with an age range somewhere between 23 to 76, all industries, professions, and cultures. Small to mid-sized business professionals that are looking to build or accelerate their business growth. And finally, managers and executives who are looking to seek or expand their influence within their organizations. And as you can see at the bottom, there is a recommended current annual income level that we do have for our clients here at Influential You. Now, what are we? We are the leading business education in transactional competence. we teach ambitious business professionals how to exchange more powerfully and then transact for more of what they want. Now, what does that mean, more of what they want? Here at Influential You, we teach that human beings are faced with inescapable and unavoidable conditions of life. These are inescapable and unavoidable conditions, situations, circumstances. All of these things are things that adults must tend to in order to live a happy life. Now, one may ignore some of these conditions of life, but simply ignoring problems doesn't mean that they don't exist. And we teach here that if you leave these conditions unattended, the consequences are going to produce a life with much more hardship. Now, we teach that each of these conditions of life that you see on the screen must be addressed at some time in a human life. In our Fundamentals of Transaction program, we focus on the following 4 conditions. Health, the condition of the human mind and body. We've got activity, what we do, the actions that we take with our mind and body. Money, which is simply defined as a tool that measures the value of our work. It's, in other words, our ability to transact in the marketplace. And finally, career. That is the identity of help that we are in the marketplace. Now, by teaching our programs and applying them to these conditions of life, these are the results that we're able to see our clients achieve in the first 6 months of participation in the Fundamentals of Transaction program. 1, they hit an average personal income of 45% more than they anticipated. 2, they target and track a health aim and a money aim. And our average results, and just so you know, these did go up during COVID, are 89% of our clients' aims for health, 103% of our aim for financial goals in that same time period. Now, today we're going to focus our conversation on superpowers. And at Influential You, we teach them through transactions. See, we teach people that we need to build transactions to get more of what we want. In order to achieve our chief aims in life, we need to build more meaningful and powerful exchanges everywhere we go. And the way that we build these meaningful and powerful exchanges is through the use of a transaction cycle. Now, if you look at the screen, you'll see this is what we call our transaction cycle. You and I can begin at any point in an exchange in our transaction. But for the ease of explanation, we'll begin here by addressing a thing. If you move from addressing it or assessing it, you'll move into inventing a solution, inviting others to hear about said solution, presenting our intentions to one another, contracting or committing to that idea, then doing the work and taking the actions to fulfill, measure the work that we did to make sure that we did what we fulfilled and said what we would do in the contract, and then complete by putting facts and judgments into our transactions and then reassessing, reinventing, and around and around and around we go. Now, today, we're going to discuss specifically our transactional superpowers. And if you're looking at this transaction cycle, you may have already located places where you prefer to go to work. Some of you may love coming up with new ideas and being up there in that 12 o'clock area. Some of you may love the 6 o'clock area, getting down to work. Some of you may be like myself and you're at 3 o'clock. You prefer to build narratives, tell stories, maybe even lead webinars. And finally, some of you are really great at turning results into facts. And that's right around that 9 o'clock area, showing us where things are liable to go wrong and offering facts and judgments. At Influential You, we ask you, what is it like to transact with you? This is where we begin to speak to our superpowers. Because in our day-to-day exchanges with others, in our transactions, we are regularly doing things and saying things and acting in ways that either speed up these transactions and make us really valuable and easy to work with, or we grind these transactions to a halt. So we're constantly asking our clients, what is it like to exchange with you? How does the way that you view the world or your transactional superpower shape your view of these transactions? Because it may be limiting them. What liabilities might you have in your exchanges with others? And what is the unique role that you're specifically suited for in your transactions? Now, we've studied over 220 different 4-quadrant models, and we teach that in exchange, people move in 4 very easily identifiable ways. The earliest record of this sort of thinking was written in 400 BC by Hippocrates. Hippocrates noticed that there were 4 basic temperaments of human behavior. They're idea-oriented, theory-oriented, action-oriented, and fact-oriented. And we pull from his observations in our own models. Now, I'm going to mention the transactional superpowers. I'm going to show you a screen really quick, and we'll dig a little bit deeper in just a moment. Now, as you can see on your screen, we take it very seriously here, and we know we study these. What you'll see there is that we've got 4 personalities. First, far left is the subjectivists. We call them inventors. These are our idealists. Possibilities is where they love to live in transactions. Well, the opposite is also true. We're going to call them objectivists. These are our producers. Those are the third on the list. They're realists. They're like, cool idea, inventor. We like the rigor of getting to work, doing things. We want to get things done. Next to them are the constructivists, or who we call performers. That would be me. We're nestled between the subjectivists and objectivists because we love crafting narratives, but we don't necessarily need to come up with the idea, and we certainly don't aim to do much in the fulfillment areas. And lastly, the opposite of us is the skeptic or the deconstructivist. This is the one on the far right. These love to live in a world of facts and judgments, and they're really talented at pointing out dangers and hazards that may be coming up. Now, if you'll remember, we began with the transaction cycle. When you look at our 2 models, what you'll begin to see is that people in transaction show their skill sets as an asset when working within our models. Sometimes they actually may be a liability when they're in the wrong area. When they do that, they grind projects to a halt and slow down progress, and we end up robbing ourselves of value. Now, when I saw these 2 models together, that was when it suddenly started to make sense to me. Because if you and I are always we're always transacting, it's very valuable to be aware of how we move and then think accurately about what transactions we ought to enter into in order to achieve our chief aims in life. Now, today's talk, we're going to focus on these 4 transactional personalities. We'll go through each of these in detail. And once again, if you'd like to download this chart and you can follow along, or you can have it for your own area, go ahead and you can view a link in the show notes and accept this as our gift. Or you can go to the address that I'll say right now. That address is my.influentialyou.global/personality-characteristics. my.influentialyou.global/personality-characteristics. Let's begin. This is our inventor. Now, our inventors tend to be future-based, idea-oriented people. These are very self-reliant and highly subjective types in their thinking. Their kryptonite, on the short term, their inventors tend to halt transactions with brand new ideas, or they need to control things. So they may avoid or dismiss relationships and sometimes skip really critical facts and judgments. Now, their superpower is the future. You see, they have this enthusiasm to explore and to build things. Oftentimes, they're entrepreneurs because they love to create. They are all about vision and control. You see, a mind that is working kind of 5 years down the road. If you just trust me and you give me enough time, we're going to get there. They usually have a vision that's worth getting behind. They're imaginative, strategic, optimistic. They have this view of how things could all come together for everyone involved. And finally, they tend to move around half positive, kind of like a half glass, half full type. Now, the problem is that they have also got a kryptonite. Now, the big kryptonite for them is the ego. See, inventors generally have these big ideas that come with really large egos because it's required for uncharted territory. But inventors need to be careful because they may often bully others into submission. It's really important for them to learn to say, I don't know. It's really hard for an inventor. They're very independent. Now, just because they can do it all themselves doesn't mean they should, because independence is sort of a poverty. It's why many times a lot of ideas don't actually take off. When an inventor is unsure of something, they become brooding or arrogant. They start to noodle on things. And you have to be really careful. If you're an inventor and you're inventing something, you may get it on someone else. And then lastly, inventors tend to see others as either equals or idiots. And for most inventors, there's really not a ton of equals. Now, you can see it here in our chart right there at 12 o'clock in our transaction cycle. A few other things to notice on our list. They are grounded in the philosophy or worldview of subjectivism. The main thing here is like everything is a possibility. Like it could all happen. If you can imagine it, they can build it. The main thing here is that they're often going to say things to others like you should, or maybe say I will, things that are future based. Very often they're used shoulding on other people and telling them what to do. When you're working with an inventor, it's really smart to give them space and let their egos have that space. You acknowledge their ego, acknowledge their thoughts as wise, and that will help you move forward in transactions with them. A really good example is my inventor here at Influential You is John Patterson. The line that you use with an inventor is this one right here. I know you already know this, and it works like a charm. If I'm talking to John and I need to get my idea across, I'll acknowledge that ego and say something to the extent of, now, John, I know you put this together 20 years ago, and I'm just catching up with you, and then proceed to tell him my idea. This gives the inventor enough space to know that their ego is taken care of, that you've acknowledged their brains, and now they're willing to move on with you with that idea. And if you want to get an inventor involved, I highly advise using something like that to build up that ego. Well, next up, I'm going to tell you how to work with me, the performer. Now, performers tend to be present-based. We're relationship-oriented people, and we're inclined to be highly flexible in thinking. Performers tend to have a kryptonite, though, because we will halt transactions because we're concerned about the relationships or maybe the moods that are going on in the room. We often avoid and dismiss things that we've committed to and facts to take care of people. Now, we move with a mood and intention. In fact, when you know a performer's coming, they're about to set the temperature of the room. I often have to be careful when I walk into a room of people doing hard work because I'll set a tone of excitement and they need to be in rigor. We often can lift the mood or set the tone, and we're very good at influence. In fact, our currency as a performer or a constructivist is influence, and our primary asset is the networks of relationships that we care for. Generally, we're sociable, gregarious, we're natural storytellers, and we have a gift for making others feel included or welcomed. Generally, we move around in positive moods, and that means that we can all kind of achieve new possibilities together. Like, it's like, come on, team, we can do this. Now, we've also got a kryptonite. It's not all hunky-dory for our performers. When we fear burning bridges, we tend to give away too much of ourselves, our time, and our money. We have to be careful because not all relationships may be working to our favor. So be really careful who we have relationships with. We can also be really flaky. When we're taking care of one person, we often forget or don't attend to a meeting time for another person. So we're often late. We can come across and be annoyant or intolerant. If someone's rude or disrespects someone else, we get really annoyed. We get really upset. We kind of stick up for them. Do not make fun of my waiter or waitress. I will get mad when I'm eating dinner. Lastly, I can start to see other people as buffoons, kind of goofy. The moment someone starts to disrespect us, be careful, because we can construct a bad story just as fast as we can create a good one. Now, taking a deeper dive, you'll see that we're grounded in a philosophy of constructivism. We're in a world of intentions. That's why many of us intended to do great things, but we really don't like to commit to them. We like to stay in a gray area. Things that you'll hear us say is, you know what we could do? All of these things are possibilities. You know what you could do? We don't ever want to really, more often than not, we don't want to commit to things. So we kind of keep it in that real like teeter-tottering gray spot. When working with us performers, it's really smart to give us fields in which we have space, or in other words, freedom within limits. Kirkland Tibbles is one of the co-founders here at Influential You, and he's often said, as a performer, we'll give you the shirt off our backs unless you tell us to. Don't boss us around, because then we'll fight you to the death. If you can make it a game with performers, we enjoy the play, and peopling is literally our favorite thing. So when you're confronted with people, or we're confronted with performers, just know you're working with people. So play with our moods, have fun with us, enjoy the time, but help us get to work. Next up, we've got our producers, and I love producers. Now, see, they tend to be a little more short-term with their thinking, like 90 days out. It's very objective. So usually that 90 days out comes with a checklist. They're very work-oriented, and they get things done. Their kryptonite, producers tend to halt transactions with premature or unnecessary doing. Sometimes they just want to do something and they're not really thinking accurately about what they ought to do. They just are in motion. They also avoid and dismiss completion and flexibility. We'll talk more about that in a second. Now, their superpower, it's all about alliance and force. They can coordinate action, they can produce work, and they're really good at delegating tasks. They kind of get to it. Now, they typically can and must see how the next 30 to 90 days are going to go. And that's why they're great with implementing tactics. They have certain deadlines that things need to happen. They're often in kind of moods to get things done. It doesn't necessarily stay positive. It doesn't really go negative. It's sort of just, hey, I'm here to work. Like, let's go. The glass is half full for some possibilities, although they will tell you not everything is possible. Stop daydreaming. Now, the biggest kryptonite is this FOMO. They really want to be included. Your producers, if not included, they don't fare well. In fact, they can find a way to begin to plan gossip and sabotage the things that you're trying to do. They can often come across as negative looking. Like, just because they want to move everything from an idea to a to-do list doesn't mean that everybody else is ready to get to work. Requests to take action can, for many others, be seen as a negative mood. And so sometimes we have to be careful of that. They also bring out irritation and belligerence. If things are inconsistent or we're not included as a producer, you need to watch out, because those producers get irritated and it grows into outright belligerence. Now, they see others as traitors or loyal, as you also can see there in the kryptonite, but also here on our chart. They're loyal to a fault. If others aren't pulling their own weight or demonstrating loyalty, producers often look at them as traitors. Sometimes producers need to be careful because they can be the most loyal, too loyal, and it can cost them in many areas of their lives. Now, as you look deeper, you'll see they're grounded in a world of objectivism. It's full of getting things done. The main thing to note here is they often say to others, we need to, or I have to, which is sort of a humble brag. It's like, oh my goodness, I am so busy. I have so much to do today. If you hear that, chances are that's probably a producer. Just watch them closely then. When you're working with your producers, make sure to include them, as they can often feel left out. If you're really clear about what help you need with constructing, they'll be really valuable for you because they love their checklists. You simply don't actually have to ask them if you're interrupting, because you are, Producers are constantly working. They're always in a state of doing a thing. And that's kind of how they like to be. That's our producers. Finally, we've got our judge. Now, the judge's superpower is that they're skeptic. Now, for many of you, you'd be like, wait, that's not a superpower. That's a negative thing. No, no, no. Take that away for a second. Think of how vital that skill set is, because we need to rely on their standards, their competence. They're the ones that grab the evidence and they take the evidence before they take action. See, they're really wonderful and they get a bad rap, and I'll tell you a little bit more in a second. But first, their kryptonites can often be seen quickly because they tend to halt exchanges with premature evidence or standards that are restrictive, and they often avoid or dismiss the vision and the repetition that's necessary in order to get things done. Now, they are really powerful when it comes to confrontation and authority, which makes people kind of think negatively sometimes about them, because they often work on the culmination of facts and then establishing standards which produce the outcomes that they're looking for. Their skill set in the past and evidence of like inventorying evidence and resources that they have is phenomenal. They can be skeptical, critical, and confrontational. And for someone like me that's generally not those things, that's really valuable. They're generally unwilling to act until the evidence that's been offered is contrary to the standard. They often are able to confront those who disregard the actual standard at the time, and they don't have a problem doing it. And they generally move around with the glass half empty, and they're waiting for someone to prove that it's not correct. Now, the kryptonite. With that skepticism, while it's good, it can often lead to analysis paralysis. It could keep you out of danger, but if you never actually take the chance, you're never going to leave the shore and discover new lands. Judges can be fiercely independent. It's because they try to do it all themselves, and just because they can, it doesn't mean that they should. It's really, like I said before, a poverty, and it's why a lot of their great ideas will never take off, because they try to do it themselves. They do tend to be like resigned or righteous, like they pick up their toys and leave if things don't go their way. And then lastly, they see others as stupid. They tend to just see others as stupid if they can't understand the facts or the standards that they consider to be truth. Now, going deeper, what you'll see is they're grounded in this philosophy or worldview of deconstructivism or skepticism, and we need them. It is so important to get over that like worry of like, oh no, a judge is going to be skeptical, and listen to our judges. And many of them aren't even mean. Some of them are very, very kind. They can sound like a Monday morning quarterback in a lot of ways. You know what you should have done? That's a big phrase that you'll hear. They'll also use conditional phrases like, well, I'm willing to if. So they're very much on that conditional wavelength. Their skepticism leans towards most answers being no. But if you let them have their space to say no, they generally fare better with you. Now, when I'm working with the judge, I tend to tell people use fact, 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 and then give them space. That's how I usually work with them to be as low cost as possible. I'll often go to my CFO. He's a judge. His name's Daryl. And I'll use him to vet many of the ideas that I'm going to take to my CEO, because he helps me to find those gaps. I can't say it enough. Value your judges. Inventors, performers, producers, and judges. Those are the 4 personalities that we teach, the superpowers that we teach for the personalities in our transactions at Influential You. Now, I bet that there's a lot of questions, because that's a lot to give in and a lot to take in the first couple minutes of meeting me. But that's going to be the end of our superpower presentation for the day. I'll give you a few resources if you do have more questions, and you can check these out. First off, if you loved what you heard today and you're interested in trying some of what we do, we tell many people that the very first thing that they want to do for additional study, practice, or habits is to subscribe to our Thrive. It's our self-guided training. Now, Thrive is a self-guided program that lets you learn at your own pace and supplement your professional development. Subscribers get weekly live e-coaching sessions and an access to a rich content library that features exclusive video lessons from influential U faculty and industry experts. You get proven proprietary tools to accurately assess your career and develop a realistic strategy to achieve your aims faster. You can sign up for a 30-day free trial, and if you use the code that you see right there on the screen, 30 days, you'll get that first month free. A Thrive subscription is $125 a month, and if you use coupon code 30 days at checkout, it'll be free for the first month, and you can unsubscribe at any time. Finally, you can book a strategy session with myself. You can screenshot this right now, zoom in on my contact information. It's right there on your screen. And if you'd like, I'll also put my link for my meeting room in the show notes, and you can meet with me anytime you'd like. Thank you so much for joining us on the Influential You Framework and for looking at the Superpower webinar. We hope that it's been well worth your time. Remember, if you're looking to do big things, it's going to take help. Lots and lots of help. By moving with other personalities inside of your transactions, you'll get to where you're going faster and with a lot less labor. Thank you for watching, and we hope to talk to you soon here at Influential You.